is the first time I've been here, and I'm impressed.
These are the lectures which are giving you an idea about the future, where the whole trend is going, where we are moving.
Speakers can, have high quality speech with really new information over there. So yes, it's interesting.
Everyone. Well, we are at the halfway mark of the CeBIT Global Conferences 2013. It's good to see all of you here this morning. We also want to welcome our viewers on live stream, a record number of viewers on live stream this year, so we're very happy about that. The past 2 days, we've talked about sharing in the cloud, big data, smart solutions for intelligent networks, and yesterday, as many of you probably saw, we even talked some politics. Well, today on the agenda, we're going to ponder the death of complexity. We're going to examine sharing big data in the cloud. And to start us off this morning, we are going to go mobile. Now, I've got an interesting statistic for you. This is the first year that more people are using their smartphones instead of PCs and laptops to watch the CeBIT Global Conferences via live stream. It's the first year we've had that number, and that is proof that consumers around the world prefer to stay connected with their mobile devices. Our first keynote speaker this morning says, when you combine the new mobile reality with advances in cloud computing, you realize immediately that the expectations of the consumers are changing. Well, how do you meet those changing expectations and keep up at the same time? Well, please help me welcome this morning our first keynote speaker, the head of mobile business development at Dropbox, Mr. Lars Fjeldsoe-Nielsen.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm pleased to be here. Thanks for inviting us to speak at CeBIT. And a couple of things that typically happen to me when I introduce myself, and I'm very excited to be at Dropbox and sort of tell the story. At Dropbox is people tell me, but how do you pronounce your name? So it's a Fjeldsoe-Nielsen. And the second question people typically ask me, so where are you from? So I'm Danish-Portuguese. But this is by far the most exciting time that we're going through right now. I think what Brent mentioned, that more people are now watching this stream from their mobile devices, is actually not surprising given everything that's happening. But I think the thing that's really amazing is how quickly things have changed. And certainly in my career, this is the most exciting time that I've experienced. Everything is changing. And this year alone, we have over 1 billion smartphones being sold, which is just, it's hard to get around how big and really understand how big that number actually is. But one thing that, when we were asked to, invited to come and speak here, was around the topic. And the topic that we thought about was around partnerships. And then I thought, well, is that really interesting to people? Are people really interested to hear about partnerships? Something that I'm very passionate about, and we at Dropbox are very passionate about. But then sort of thinking about it a little bit more, it affects everybody. And the fact that sort of the notion of partnerships and how you do partnerships and the impact is completely changed today. Just in a few years ago, the discussion that we would have had up on stage here would have been very, very different than it is today. And a few years in the future, it will be very different again. So I'll talk a little bit about sort of what our experience has been at Dropbox doing that, and especially since it was not something that we had on the radar just a few years ago. So first of all, what is Dropbox? Dropbox is a service that allows you to access all your digital stuff and share all your digital stuff from any connected device, really. So, for example, I have 3 kids. I'm very proud of my kids. I love my kids, and I want to share the photos that I have of my kids with my family. I want to do it privately. And what I do is I just take photos with my telephone, and then it pushes it up to Dropbox, and it shares it with my family. My family is in Denmark, as I mentioned before. So I don't have to do anything other than just take the photo, and it's shared with the family. At the same time, for businesses, what they use Dropbox for is sort of like an intranet. So like when you're on the road, you have access to all your data, you have access to all your documents, and you collaborate around the documents. And everyone is completely up to speed on what's going on and sort of accessing to this vital data the whole time. So a little bit about Dropbox. So it was founded in 2007 by Drew Houston and Lars. And really, it has been an absolute explosive sort of start in terms of the user uptake. We have over 100 million users. We're everywhere in the world. And there are 1 billion files saved every day. That's a big number. That's a really big number. That is sort of seems a very simple experience. Just that you drag and drop your files, and you just take your photos, it pushes it automatically to the cloud and so on. But there's obviously a lot of very hard, complex work to do that. And then the way we work is what is called a freemium service. So users, they use Dropbox for free until they fill up their space, and then they start paying afterwards. This is how we make, this is how we generate money. And one of the things that has really happened, I was alluding to this before, is this sort of tectonic shift that's happening. This is why it's an amazing time we live in right now. And if we look at just from a partnership point of view and how like the operators or the carriers, how they, and the handset manufacturers as well, how they used to operate, it was, people, the handset manufacturers and the carriers, operators would say, these are the services that we want you to like. So the instant messaging services we want you to like. The music services, social networks, and today it's cloud services. And the companies were trying to build their own services. I'll give an example. So from the operators were saying, well, you have your contacts in your handset, and really you have paid to be on our network. So that's really the social network, because that's the people you coordinate and you talk and text with most and so on. But really, what happened was, and this was back in 2007, 2008, when the App Store really launched, was, people, they chose the services themselves. They said, these are the services that we love. And for instant messaging, I mean, you've probably heard of WhatsApp, which is, taking the world by storm. Obviously, Spotify, proud European company, with music services, people are passionate about the service. You just need to use it once and you fall in love with it. And Facebook, I don't think that, over 1 billion people using that now, which is extraordinary and just keeps growing, like explosive growth. And then Dropbox, like we're trying to take the crown of the cloud service, the people that they love and the people that they use the most. And this is both for personal use and for work. And this is the big change that's really happening now. And I sort of call it the French Revolution of sort of the mobile industry right now. So people, they go to work, they bring their personal devices, and then they start using the services that they do at home. And this is what's happened to Dropbox, for example. So people, they use Dropbox to share their photos and access their documents, and they realize, well, it's actually easier for us to use this at work as well. And then people start using it at work. Then the IT managers say, hey, hang on a second, we're losing control right now. This revolution is happening inside of our walls that we thought were, all very protected, and we were telling people what to do. But people are just bringing in their own stuff. And in response to that, of course, then we have to, as in services like Dropbox, we have to respond to that and build services that make the IT administrators comfortable and give them the control and tools and so on that they need to be on top of things and feel more comfortable. So the other thing that's happening is, like, given this explosion of smartphones, given the explosion of use as well, how do companies, how do they get up to the surface? How do they even get the visibility of users and get the traction? Because you're going to have like brilliant services that are not necessarily discovered just because there's so many apps. Like if you look at the app stores today in aggregate, there are over 1 million apps out there. So I mean, we're getting to the point now where it's like you have a fantastic idea, you launch a website and nobody sees it just because there's so much noise out there. And that's the same thing that's happening in the app stores. So So the question is really sort of how to get the visibility. And what we've done is sort of look at, over the last years, so sort of over the last decade, what are the companies that have done like an amazing job and sort of taken the crown for each of these new methods of distribution and partnerships. And if we look at them like briefly, obviously word of mouth and virality, Facebook has done a tremendous job there. And they were sort of built in to the very nature of the product. Getting featured, Shazam, the music recognition app, which now has over 300 million users, they got featured in Apple's. There's an app for that, and that's what really put them on the map, and they sort of exploded through that. Then there's like App Store gamification. It's not really a word, but let's call it that for now. And that is how you get up to the top 50 in the App Store, which is where all the visibility is. This is where people they browse, this is where people they discover, and where they found like new services. And Netflix have paid their way up there, and then there's like the organic sort of distribution then does that they stay up in that category afterwards. Marketing, Rovio, they've done an amazing job with that, with their games, with the Angry Birds games, where they're like literally taking sort of this, the new sort of a gaming experience that they have, and they're taking the Hollywood budget of marketing, and they're taking advantage of that, and they're literally getting that kind of budget, and they're getting that for free. Then there are APIs and platforms. So this is where you enable or you build tools for other developers to take advantage of what you can do in your offering, and them to build on top of that. And Twitter did an amazing job there. They didn't have a mobile client for years, and basically just opened up the APIs and the platform, and then said, hey, developers, like, please go and build the best experience you can get, and then like people choose which mobile experience they want. So they didn't have a mobile client for years. They just let other developers build that, and and got a lot of distribution through that. Then there's working with the mobile operators or the carriers, and Lookout for mobile security is, I think, a prime example of that. So they have partnered up with a number of carriers, and then really promoting through them, sort of getting this local marketing and distribution through the operators. Then there's working with the handset manufacturers or the OEMs, and I think YouTube is a great example of that. They already had some traction before they started working with Apple on the iPhone, but after that they really took off and got a lot of the distribution and sort of visibility that way. And this was obviously until recently when they were pulled off. Then there's mergers and acquisitions, another way of getting distribution. And I think the example that really comes to mind here would be Instagram, for example, with Facebook, where they really got a footprint into the mobile space by acquiring that. It's a little bit more untraditional to do it that way, though. So the really interesting thing, and this is what I ask to everybody here in the audience and people online, is like, what is the thing that is not on this list here that's going to be there 3 years from now? Because like 3 years ago, there were some of these elements that were not on this list here, and people would have thought, it would just be normal to think, this is probably it, this is as good as it gets. Let's just take what we have here, these tools, and let's get most out of that, instead of trying to think, like, what's the next thing? What's the next thing that should be on that list? So that will be really interesting to see. And this is like up for all of us to really invent that and build on top of what's already existing, and find out what's that next big thing that really should be here on this list that gets these companies to hit sort of 1 billion users or, so on. And one thing, and this is just to make sort of an illustration of what we've done is, if you look at sort of this XY graph here, where you have, how hard it is to get distribution versus how efficient it is. And we've just sort of plotted the different methods up against this. And this is from our experience. I think with different companies will have different experiences if you plot these. But obviously word of mouth is sort of the one that's very hard to get right, but it's extremely efficient once you get it. And it doesn't cost you very much if you get it right. And it all comes down to the user experience that you build. And this was how Dropbox really grew to tens of millions of users. And then basically 2 years ago, we started thinking, like, how can we how can we do more than this? Things are going really great, but how can we do absolutely more? And this was when we started to think about the partnership with the handset manufacturers and the mobile operators. And the thing that's really interesting about what's happening now is that it's a global sort of territory. It's no longer, let's try to do this in a local market with like a local mobile operator or a local partner. It's like really about doing things global. And this is what the App Stores has really enabled for everybody. So everyone is thinking global now. And the way we looked at it was, we said, well, you have the handset manufacturers, then you have the mobile operators. The way we're going to do, which is a little bit against sort of the traditional way of doing it, is we're going to work with the handset manufacturers to get global distribution, and then we'll work locally with the mobile operators to get the marketing, the local marketing, and really build into the offering that these companies have and the expertise that they have for the local markets. And so if we look a little bit at some of the results that this has given for us, is we now have over 500 million devices that are connected to Dropbox. So this is, from PCs to mobile phones, tablets, and cameras, etc. So this is sort of the scale that we're operating at right now. And we have 300 carriers, 300 mobile operators that are supporting the partnerships that we're doing. But the thing that I'm sort of most proud of, and this was alluding to me being Danish, is that we now have sort of more partners have given us more users, multiple times the users that the population of Denmark. And we're sort of, just really keep pushing and sort of building the partnerships to create more traction, and everybody to win from this. So if we look a little bit about, what are the partnerships really driving? So I mentioned what it's doing for Dropbox, which is for us the main objective is like happy users, is to make people happy, to save people time, to solve their problems with not having to email themselves documents, and just have access to all their digital stuff from any device that's connected to Dropbox. And this is one thing that I'm really excited about. The problem is exploding, right? The size of the problem is like expanding by, the same speed that the universe is expanding pretty much. People expect if something is connected, that they should be able to access their stuff. If something is online, why, you should be able to access your email, right? If something is online, you should be able to access all the digital stuff that you have. And that's so expectations are really going through the roof. Like, you should expect to get access to all this content and share it and work with it. And so that's sort of what we're doing for the user. For the partners that we're working with, one study that we did recently, this was with the 2,000 users who had signed in to the partnership that we've done, the experience that we've done with Samsung. 15% of them, they said that they bought the Samsung handset because of this partnership. And it's funny, I was just talking to Alex, who's behind the scenes here. And he said, Lars, I love this because I really wanted this extra free space. And he was like really talking about how he's using it, taking the photos again and sharing it, having his wife have access to sort of this shared pool of photos and just organizing all their data. And this is something that excites me. And this is like where we are adding value. We're solving people's problems. And for Samsung, for our partner, we're selling more handsets. We're driving more sales. And for the operators, of course, more handsets also means that people are subscribing more to the carrier plans and so on. So there's like a whole sort of opportunity in working with the operators in that way as well. So what people are saying, and this is the amazing thing, is that you just get immediate feedback, from channels like Twitter, for example. And this is where people are literally saying that they would buy one handset and start using one handset instead of another handset because of the partnership. And that's something that's like really satisfying, that you're helping, you're changing people's lives basically, right? It's immensely motivating. And if we look a little bit at, a little bit deeper into the things that we're doing with the handset manufacturers, these are, initially just hampered by, all the challenges. I mean, it is a pain to go through these big global partnership discussions, but it's really worth it. And this was back to my point before, not just sort of accepting the way things are and what's available today, but like, how can we do something that's different? How can we do something that a couple of years from now will be absolutely normal? Everybody will be doing that, but really be the first one to, to step on Mars. That's really what we're doing. Take the first footsteps there, and it just brings up this long list of challenges from very, very basic things like, how do you align the objectives on the partner? How do you, what does success even mean? How do you define success? And really sort of just following a process where before you engage on the partnership is, the parties talk about, so what does success mean for you? And, what does it mean for us? What does it mean for the user? What does it mean for the other entities that are involved in the experience? And making sure that we can always check against that. So once the partnership is launched, there's a measurement stick, and it's really, so how are we doing against what we said we were going to do, and is this successful or not? And so sort of very basic, challenges that has to be dealt with, and just a lot of them. But the good thing is that there is you can solve these things, right? And this is just, again, by really digging deep into them. And I think when I talk about the solutions here, it's a little bit more sort of the practicalities of working with big partners. And this is seen more from a small developer's point of view. And but it's certainly something that everybody can do. And then it's about aligning everybody, making sure that everybody is involved in the process. And never forget that this is about this. The whole objective of this is to have people fall passionately in love with your service, and just keep making it really, really simple, and just getting this user traction and engagement. So digging a little bit deeper into the partnership. I mean, and CeBIT, I think, is again a great example. You have the mobile phone industry has disrupted so many other industries, and you look at the satellite, the sat nav. You look at the cameras, and now the things that are happening is the consumer electronics industries that the mobile phone industry initially sort of disrupted are now coming back and saying, hey, now we have an Android camera, like the Samsung Galaxy camera, for example, and that's now coming and sort of hitting back at the mobile industry, which is interesting. And the reason for that is that they are coming out with experiences that are different and that are very sort of focused in that particular segment for the user experience. It's all about the user experience, sort of doing that. The sat nav is the same thing. Now you have apps that are specifically built for sat nav. I mean, you have watches, running watches that that were spoken about recently as well, and so on. And the way we work at Dropbox is we try to work across all these platforms. We try to be sort of the Switzerland of the internet, to work across platform, across OS, and again really try to meet this expectation that users that they have of, if something is online, of course I should be able to access my stuff and work with my stuff, with all my digital content. And so we work, across, mobile phones, tablets, PCs, etc. But the thing that I'm most excited about right now is the cameras. The cameras are really going through this whole new innovation cycle now, and where we're solving this very, very basic problem of you take a photo and the photo is just pushed out to Dropbox, and it's available on your PC, it's available on all the other devices that you have connected. It seems really simple, and yet it's a hard problem to solve. And people's expectations, our expectations are, of course it should just work, right? It's online. And I don't want to be thinking about which operating system. I don't even know which operating system I'm using. It should just work. If my device, if my TV is connected, it should just be working. I should be able to watch my photo. I should be able to send videos of my kids to my parents, and they should be able to watch it on the TV, which is online. And we work with guys like ACC as well, who are doing a great job, sort of really, really innovating there. And then, a question I get asked really often is, why are the partnerships successful? And it really comes down to very basic, just listening to what people they want. And I mentioned the example of the photos, but the second sort of wave that we're experiencing right now is, is through enterprises, is through businesses. And it really is that people want to be able to, to use Dropbox and access their stuff and sort of have this division between their workspace and their personal space, and but not really having to think about it. They should just be able to access their files, irrespective of which sort of space it's in. And so the thing we're doing is we're building these deep integrations into the handset. So, for example, once you buy like a Samsung handset, or like the Note 8, for example, which was just announced last week, and you go to the gallery, then first time you open up the gallery, the only thing you've done is you signed into Dropbox in the beginning, but once you launch your gallery, you have all your photos there, and they're organized in the same way that you did on your PC, like beforehand. So it's just this really pleasant experience with minimum sort of resistance to thinking. Really, you just do what you're used to, and the experience you get is really pleasant, and it's sort of surprising as well. And back to the enterprise sort of story or sort of engagement that we have. So we're just launching with the Samsung as well. They call it Knox, and this is again a response to the businesses asking for us to work with them. And so what we've seen is that 95% of Fortune 500 companies are already using Dropbox, and this is. It's not necessarily because we have a formal relationship with these big companies. It's just that people are bringing their personal services, they're bringing it into work. Just like they're probably bringing music services into work, and they're sitting and listening to music or other personal services. And we have over 2 million businesses using it. So back to sort of the French Revolution sort of reference I made before. We're now meeting that where companies are telling us, hey, the consumer experience was great, but please give us some enterprise solution as well. Give me like a solution that works for business as well. So now it's coming back at us, and we have to meet that and listen to that. Back to what makes this successful is really listening to what people want. And sort of wrapping up some pros and cons. I mean, again, the pros that we are seeing is we're making people happy, and and that's difficult, right? It's really difficult. We all have different things that makes us happy, but at the end of the day, we're solving like really painful problems that are, from the consumer point of view, so from a personal point of view, is like getting the photos off your handsets and get them, onto your other devices, and from an enterprise point of view, again, being able to access, the documents like the intranet of your company, but really, really easily when you're on the road, for example. And for our partners, it's very much about selling more handsets. This is, and creating services, like really tying in the services and the hardware together with the deep integrations. And then it's all about driving growth and engagement. It's back to sort of this app store notion. It's almost to the point now where app stores are just redundant. It's like very difficult to get visibility in the app store now. So how do you overcome? How do we make sure that this is our responsibility here, like in the audience and people online. How do we make sure that the entrepreneurs that are starting like 5-10 years from now, that they have a platform to grow on, right? That can really make a difference. And this is our responsibility to deliver that. And the cons is it's hard to get right. It's very easy just to do what everybody else has done. But how do we do things that are different, that just increases things, improves things a little bit, and then somebody will take that and improve that a little bit, and sort of incrementally make things a lot better. And then it's expensive, and the return on investment is unsure. So you are putting resources, which everyone has limited resources, and unknowing what this will give back, and of course the time consumption with that. So finally, some of the sort of basic, I guess, takeaways from this, like we don't want us as people, us as consumers, us as in business as well. We don't want to get told what to do. We want to choose ourselves, and we all want to do whatever is the most simple and sort of natural way of doing things. And this is the thing that's really interesting that's happening now, that people are, we're all choosing ourselves, how we want to do our work. And at the end of the day, businesses are benefiting from that as well. It's basically saving time, making things more efficient. And then the other thing that I would point out was, the integration of hardware and software, hardware and services, is the thing that's really interesting as well, and that's creating this value for the user and for everybody in the ecosystem. So, and with that, I just want to say thank you very much for having us.
Okay, Lars. I think the great quote of the day is Dropbox is the Switzerland of the internet. Yeah, it's a great quote. We've got a minute or two for a Q&A. Any questions from the audience? Anyone like to ask Lars? We've got a lady here with a microphone. Anyone out there? I see a couple. Anyone back there? No? Okay. Quick question then before we let you go. Where is Dropbox going to be a year from now? Because we've been talking in year terms at the global conferences this year. What do you think the difference is going to be when we talk next year this time? So,
I would like to see that the company has grown considerably just from a team. We're a small company, and we're looking, to hire quite aggressively, so we can do a lot of the things that has been on the list for a long time. So it's really about the list of the product roadmap we have to build is very, very long, and we just need to be able to do that. And people have a lot of requests of things to do, and I think we'll be coming out with some announcements around that pretty soon.
You are an international company, and you go across borders. Talk to me, if you can, about the situation in China.
Sure. So we have users in China, but I'm not 100% familiar with how are things blocked and so on. And but I would say that, to the point today, we have users in China, but generally we focus on areas outside of China.
Okay, yeah. Very good. Okay, Lars, thank you very much. I have a feeling, let's just do this before you leave, a show of hands. How many people here in the room use Dropbox? Yeah, see? All right, yeah, you guys are a winner. All right, thank you very much, Lars. Thank you. Give him a warm round of applause.